Yeah, that was far more of a shock than having the diagnosis of Down syndrome, in all honesty.
Yeah, I remember. I've obviously getting the diagnosis during pregnancy was tough, and it was emotional, and it was a bit of an up and down roller coaster. But then I'd had a couple of weeks to kind of get used to things, and I'd started reaching out and speaking to people like yourself, and I was starting to kind of feel, calmer. And then we had that scan where he said, "I'm really sorry, I missed the heart defect," and it was such a shock. And I remember a massive sort of almost like a grief came over me, and I was really inconsolable for a good sort of 24 hours, just because all you seem to see when it comes to heart surgeries and stuff is quite scary, bad things in the media.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I'd seen a little bit more of what to expect after the surgery, I guess, when I got to that point. And even the leading up to it, I think part of it was because they'd insisted on putting an NG tube into Ava when she was born because she wasn't feeding for that length of time. But I was very, as you know me, Laura, I do things my way.
Well, I was the same. They did the same with Lucy, and I was the same about that, yeah.
Yeah, so I was adamant that I was going to breastfeed her, and they'd said kind of, well, if she doesn't gain the weight, you won't be going home. And I was like, she will have gained the weight, believe me. And she did, so they were happy to take the NG tube out. So I think when we then had that kind of the AVSD diagnosis at day 3, it was then, I mean, the 4 months from that point to the heart surgery was such a whirlwind that kind of, there was just a lot going on in a very short space of time, I guess. But that experience of the NG tube when she was first born made me think that if she had to have an NG tube to help her feeding leading up to the surgery meant that we had to be in hospital for it. And no one at any point had explained to us that actually it was perfectly fine and normal to have an NG tube and be home.
Yeah.
So I found
how families kind of navigate that. You don't see people talking about it, and a lot of people don't go out feeding their babies with NG tubes, whereas I see that now, but I spot it. Yes. Whereas I think you're just not looking out for
and that's what I was going to say. Yeah, I was thinking I don't think I'd seen anyone out and about with an NG tube, but actually it wasn't in my
your radar, really.
Yeah, so I probably had seen kids and just not even noticed. So I kind of battled when they very first kind of said about her going into heart failure and that she might need some support with her feeding. I felt like I was battling with them against that, because I thought that meant that we were going to be stuck in hospital, which obviously wasn't the case. I still did battle because I was still adamant I wanted to breastfeed her for her well-being. I knew that it would help kind of recovery and all of those things. So there were kind of odd battles with dietitians and hospital staff. I was quite glad that my consultant, Ava's consultant, was from South Africa. So he was kind of fully on the breastfeeding bandwagon with me. So that helped massively.
Yeah. Well, that's it, isn't it? I think we all find that in our journeys, often how the journey goes depends on the medical professionals you come across and who they are and what their experience is and how they behave has a massive impact on us, doesn't it? So you had a positive.
Well, I had both sides of it. Yeah, positive with him. It was battling the kind of, and I don't want to use the term negative, but it was the nurses. So whenever we were admitted, or that initial kind of being admitted into the hospital while they were trying to sort out her diuretic meds and all of that, when they'd said that they wanted to kind of put her on the NG tube, and it was very much actually all through that 4-month period, the nurses wanted to be able to feed on their schedule.
Yeah. Just kind of take a lot of the control away from you and control it themselves.
And I think for them it was kind of, they can tick things off on the board and they can understand where they're at.
Because of the weight gain and all that stuff, because children that are born with a complete AVSD, they often want to do the surgery ASAP, but the child has to reach a certain weight for it to make the operation more viable.
Yeah, we were told that we needed to get to a minimum of 4 months, and she had to get to a minimum of 4 kilograms.
They can do it sooner. I know that they like to kind of set benchmarks to lower the risks. And the diuretics, just for anybody that doesn't know what they are, they're to take the fluid away that builds up around the heart or the lungs because the heart's not functioning correctly. So diuretics with heart conditions are really common, aren't they? Like,
Yes. I think we were on 2 different ones at one point.
And we were a very unusual family because Lucy didn't have any diuretics until she had her up.
Yeah, so, well, it's interesting.
But that's because one of her holes was quite small.
Yes, so I was going to say, although they both had the same condition, our experiences are very,
very different.
Different with that.
And I think, I'd prepared myself from meeting yourself and talking to other parents in the community. I had prepared myself that Lucy would need the surgery quite quickly. And actually, just spoiler alert, she didn't have the surgery until she was 16 months old. But that was quite an unusual case, really. Most children with this heart condition do need.
And I think Ava was probably on the opposite end of, she was probably not worst case scenario, but so one of her holes was really big. And so she did go into heart failure within weeks, essentially.